Yo guys, Theo here on Common Sense. Today I'm gonna give you my top 10 best tips to not only lose weight but actually keep it off. Not just some fast track to the result and then you just, gain it back and you have to do it all over again. These are things that you can implement to actually stay lean so you don't have to do that all over again. So a little break from the spiritual themes I've been talking more about lately, but a quick shout out just to people commenting. I really appreciate your comments when you say that, hey, this wow, this resonated with me, or like this really makes sense, I will implement this, or I've been watching your videos, they're helping me through a tough time, stuff like that. I truly appreciate it, because this channel is very little about me, to be honest. Like, yeah, sometimes I do silly things, or I'm just riding the high of life and it's fun to put on a show, be the center of attention like that, but most of all, it's about finding what works for me, through thick and thin, through the upswings and downswings of life, and bringing it to you in hopes that it will help you. So I just totally appreciate that. But today we're keeping it a little bit more just lifestyle and practical. So I jotted down 10 tips here. Some of them kind of overlap, so I'll just start talking and see how it comes out. That's how I always do it, right? So yeah, the first thing I put here is focus on becoming, not getting. So a lot of people, they focus on really everything except themselves when they go into this. Like, apart from like, my weight is this and I want to get this, but they focus on the result they want to get. Like, how? I've been thinking about doing this. What do you think? Will this work? I want to lose this much. How fast do you think I can do it? Or if I do this thing, how fast do you think I will lose the weight? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking of getting this tool, or I've been thinking about this and this and this, all of the things outside yourselves. And that's really, it's paralysis by analysis, that you just get overwhelmed from sucking in so much information without really truly taking action. You sit there like, what should I even do, But it's also, of course, just a fake dopamine high, feeling like you're doing something to, in terms of accomplishing your goal, when you're not really, at least at a certain point, when you're just thinking, speculating about what to do. And it's also this thing, I don't know, it's cheap in a sense, I wouldn't want to start doing the not 100% optimal way, as if you're going to be able to be 100% optimal and consistent with anything anyway, So while that's fine, to figure out how you're going to do it, at some point you're going to say, okay, what do I have to actually do this? How can I stay consistent? Becoming, because clearly the person you are right now, your body, that's a direct result of the person you are, so you have to change who you are. And like, why do you think actors, when they just have to get fit for role and get paid like millions of dollars sometimes, and they get super fit, they're working with some nutritionist and trainer, and then you see them not long after this movie is out and they're completely deteriorated, because they never really changed as people. They just, because they were paid, they could steamroll towards this kind of result, and then it's not lasting, right? The same thing will happen to you if you now get out of your paralysis by analysis and just steamroll. That's why so many people like lose the weight and gain it back, lose the weight, because they're just forcing something instead of gradually changing who you are, so that you just, in the end, we don't want to think, I have this to lose, how fast can I do it, It's like, how can I become the person that has that kind of result and just keep being that? So it's not I don't have any direct instruction after. It's just change the way you're thinking about the thing when you're going through the weight loss process. Okay, the second thing I put was like fasting, both prolonged and intermittent fasting. I'm not going to talk so much about the prolonged fasting because I have so many videos about it, but I am just honorable mention, of course, it's 100% calorie deficit. It is the fastest way to lose weight. You don't really lose muscle as long as you just eat protein and train when you're not fasting, In the process of doing a lot of prolonged fasting, like, you reap a ton of health benefits, and one of them is just reversing food addiction, because you resynthesize your taste buds that are, connected to dopamine receptors. You're just gonna, and the insulin sensitivity, you're not gonna struggle with hunger as much, and you're gonna enjoy whole foods and lose the cravings for the junk food so much. It just occurred to me, you have parasites. When you feel the craving for junk food, we have good and bad parasites in our belly. The bad parasites, they want the junk food, and you're feeling their hunger. So the prolonged fasting can really help, just getting rid of the hunger problems and junk food addiction. And it's very fast. But I like intermittent fasting also. You can gain the same kinds of benefits, it's just kind of slower, But what I like with it a lot, and I'm gonna go into another point with that, is you know, it's like, I guess I can lead it into directly in which order did I put it. Yeah, because, you know, have a nutrition plan and know your macros is the next one. So it's really going to help if you have a very clear plan. And I just like the intermittent fasting window in terms of thinking. Like for people, like most people, it's easier for them to put off eating till later in the day. Like they have least problems with hunger in the morning. There are exceptions. I remember one guy, like if he just could have had a huge breakfast and then a little smaller lunch at 12, he could be fine, you know. So there are exceptions, but I like it in terms of, you know, you have a plan and you know your meals and you know your macros, the carbs, proteins and fats you're going to eat. You know what your meals consist of. If you have this very clearly, you know, the problem is still going to be a lot like, oh, how do I avoid the, you know, treats? I'm getting tempted by this, you know, someone offers me a cookie, whatever. But just having this solid foundation, you know, planning that, like, this is the most likely. If I start my intermittent fasting window at this time, I have this, like an example for me. I know that, okay, I have my first meal consisting of, you know, rice, eggs, fruit, a carrot, glass of juice here before I go to the gym. I'm gonna go to the gym, I maybe record a video, blah blah, depends on the day. Then I'm gonna come back, I have like this piece of meat or this, you know, I can go on, but I know very clearly like my structure. And for me, I'm already here, you know, I am the person that gets the results I want. But you know, even before you have it, when you have it so clear what goes, you have that to fall back even when you fail somehow. We're going to come to that later too. But, you know, you have this to fall back on. Okay, but this is the plan I'm following. It's going to be so much easier to stick closer to what you should be doing to get your result if you have a very clear plan. You know exactly, like, this is how much I should eat of these foods at these times, at this frequency, you know. Right, I realized as I came in that I forgot one important tip, so now I'm going to have to edit the video, yay. But high protein, eat high protein. There's too much focus in, like, fitness and health related content or whatever on protein just for building muscle, and then we get stuck on the, you know, eat 1 gram per pound of body weight or 2 grams per kilo body weight, or ideal body weight, because you don't need more protein to build muscle because you have a bunch of extra fat. But you can eat higher protein just because it's a good weight loss tool. Like, it will also mean probably that you eat a lot of animal products, which are just very nutritious, very micronutrient rich, the red, the meat, the fish, the eggs, you know. But protein is also the most satiating macronutrient. It will keep you full for longer. And it's also the macronutrient that it takes the most energy to digest. So, you know, in actuality, the calories are a bit lower, you know, when you eat protein. Like, not all calories are created equal. Yes, it's an energy equation in the end, but, you know, and of course, in a deficit, it's just going to help you to build muscle when you eat high protein. So, yeah, gotta squeeze that one in there. Let's see. Yeah, just walking and general activity, I think we all know. Like, there's so many, like, if you compare just sitting still to walking, like, everything is a benefit. Like, there's so many benefits. I'm not gonna list all of it because we're talking about weight loss. But what I like about it is that, you know, if you like doing cardio, like, fine, do it. It's great for many reasons. But if you're already hitting the gym, like lifting weights, it's like another, like, oh, I have to get in 45 minutes on the stationary bike or on the treadmill or whatever, you know. And that's fine if you want to do that. But walking in general activity, it's about the becoming, changing your lifestyle. It's like, if you listen to a podcast or whatever, can you go out on a walk and do it? Great, do that, you know. You're now burning fat, you might get sun, that's good for you too, all that shit, you know. And like, can you walk to your job or to the grocery store sometimes instead of taking the car or the bus or whatever, you know. Because it's lifestyle. It's not necessarily like adding all these things you have to do. You're just changing your ways. So, you know, I am often the leanest in the summers when I am eating the most often, and I'm not really bulking anymore, but I'm just so active, I'm just so out, so I just inevitably stay lean. So while it's great if you want to do cardio, like as actual cardio sessions like that, focus more on just lifestyle changes, and you will see it's kind of free, you know, kind of free extra fat burn. Okay, and lift weights is the next one I put. A lot of people just don't realize how, you know, like, you should be doing it anyway. Muscle mass is healthy, you know, it's better. Insulin sensitivity feeds into the weight loss thing too, right? And you're stronger. But yeah, there's many health benefits to lifting weights. But when we're talking weight loss, it's that the more muscle mass you have, the higher metabolism you have. You know, just to keep that muscle mass, it costs more energy. You will burn more energy as you sleep when you have more muscle. So both, like leading up to weight loss, it's good if you can put on muscle. You know, if you're struggling to stay consistent, well, if you're hitting the gym well and you're eating protein and you're progressing in the gym, you're gonna make it easier and easier for yourself to burn that fat, because you're raising your metabolism, right? And if you're a newbie and or if you have a lot of excess fat, you can actually gain muscle as you burn fat. And in my experience, it's just that it's not even just the protein that goes into the muscle mass, but all the energy it takes, for especially for a newbie, to just build that muscle, it will be used from your fat just to fuel that whole entire process. So while cardio burns more in the moment, lifting weights is really more for a long-term strategy. And we're talking long-term here, not talking just rushing to result, right? Okay, and then I put control your environment. So when I said you have to become someone, so it's first and foremost about controlling you. Like if you are a person that doesn't get tempted when there's a cupcake on the table, like myself, you know, when I go to a party or social gathering, if there's like bowls of chips and candy, I've come to a point where it's like I'm looking at the dog's little, you know, bowl. It's like, no, that's not for me. But if you're not there yet, it's still, you know, overall, it's controlling you. But if you're finding that I can't be around this shit, I get tempted and I end up eating it, then as much as possible, control it so that you're not around this, you know. Don't have this shit at home. Don't, you know, avoid situations where this happens. This all depends on how important the weight loss is to you and that, but you might even have to cut out some people. And this is a point not only about weight loss. Sometimes when you fail to change something about yourself because of other people and situations you're in, if you're not managing to adapt while having this around, what's the next step, you know? Something about this, it has to go. So I understand it's not always possible. You might just have a family situation with someone else that brings all the crap home, you know. Then, you know, do your best. Try talking about it and that. And then, you know, some things you're not, but I'm talking like as best as possible. Do this. Okay. Drink coffee black. So there's, you know, there in the fitness and health industry, you say there are both positive and negative things said about caffeine and coffee. From, you know, experience, I think coffee at the right, you know, dose or whatever is a net positive. I am a coffee enjoyer. It's just like, you know, don't drink it after about lunchtime to make sure it doesn't interfere with sleep. It will depend on if you're a fast or slow metabolizer of caffeine too. So, you know, you're just going to have to be honest with yourself that. But it's about like the caffeine. It will, of course, raise the metabolism just a little bit. I mean, you might end up burning like, 50 more calories per day or something if you have a bit of caffeine. So it's not really so much that, but it's also an appetite suppressant. You know, if you want to push up that first meal, you're a little tempted, you're a little, you know, having the coffee, just getting the taste of something, that little stimulated effect, and it will suppress your appetite a bit, like stimulants do, you know. So, you know, as long as you don't overdo it, or you're very sensitive, or you have gut problems or something, it's just a good tool. And even on long fasts, by the way, I like to have some black coffee. And yeah, and then I put that, think long term and big picture. And what I mean by that is so many people, it's like they go on something, and if it doesn't work, or if they fail, it's like, now I failed, or this thing, it didn't work. And you're just like, you know, you're not thinking long term, because you're changing who you are. I'm not going to go through, I've talked about how my change happened for me, you know. But for most people, if you're not like myself, even myself, faced with like, I'm coming from a point where I thought my life is over, and that I'm so grateful. I'm just as motivated you can be to change myself, you know. Even then, I wasn't 100% consistent with, you know, sticking to my calories or hitting the workouts exactly the way I should. So if you're not coming from that place, like you just had a heart attack, almost died or something, it's just not likely at all that you're going to be super consistent with even the most perfect plan or in circumstances, you know. So you have to be patient with yourself and gradually let yourself, you know, make as little of a big deal over the slip-ups as possible. Just observe them. Just observe them, don't judge yourself. I've noticed how much people's thoughts just gets in their way. Like one little mistake that could have been so little. I fucked up. I might as well. I'll never lose the weight. And then you just fuck it up so much more than it had to. And even then, you could just be like, tomorrow's a new day, I start again. You're gonna have to start again so many times until you're there. That's what change is the most difficult things for humans. Don't think that you can just buy a result like that. No way. And that leads me to the last point. 10 is hire a coach. And I say it because you still, I've talked about it before. Some people, they really think like, yeah, if only I buy this thing, if I start doing this, if I follow this program, this diet, or this guy, this coach, he clearly knows it, They're still looking at something outside themselves. But you have to see all these things, everything can be useful for you, a good tool for you. And it's, in my experience as a coach, working with people, but also someone has hired coaches. It's funny, coaches are always very willing to hire coaches because they really realize the value with it. But it's the biggest shortcut. Then it's just that you're gonna have to do the thing. The coach can't eat the diet and do the workouts for you and that, but he can figure out probably the best place to start, know when to adjust, all these things, and all common questions and thoughts and problems that comes up can help you handle that. And be moral support and external accountability in that. So it's just, I want to make the point that I think it's the greatest tool, but it still comes down to you becoming a new person. And it's just that the coach just so happens to be the best tool, the best catalyst for you to change. So that leads me to an end of the video. I'll say that right away then. You can DM me on Instagram, email me, and I'll tell you about my different options for mindset, nutrition, and fitness training coaching. But please please comment what you think. Any tip I missed, share your best advice. I'm happy to hear it. And please like and comment anyway. All help support the channel, so it's very much appreciated. Please subscribe for more content about fitness, fasting, losing weight, building muscles, self-improvement, stoicism, mental health, philosophy, mindset. It's a mindset, guys. Don't chase the result, become the result. All right, peace.